So today's topic is debunking counter-theocratic claim that Satan is the God of the Old Testament. So before I begin, can you hear me clearly, Sylvester?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm going to begin by talking about the claim itself, and that is, there are some that believe that Jesus is the Son of the true God, and that the God of the Old Testament is Satan. And this is rather based on a different understanding of, the theological concept of Christianity, of course. So I'm going to go to just give me a second, I'm just trying to find it. Here it is. Gospel of John, in particular, John chapter 8, verses 40 to 47, and it says, "But now ye seek to kill me, a man that hath told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham. Ye do the deeds of your father. Then say they to him, We be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even God. Jesus said unto them, If God were your Father, ye would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech? Even because ye cannot hear my word. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh, a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not. Which of you convinceth me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do ye not believe me? He that is of God heareth God's words. Ye therefore hear them not, because ye are not of God." Now I'm going to go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. "In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them." Now, here's the issue with this. Even considering the idea for a moment, if Satan is the God of the Old Testament claim, what is your reaction to it, Sylvester?
You're saying God is if Satan is the God of the Old Testament was my reaction?
Yeah, what is your reaction to
that? I don't think God is no, I don't think Satan is the God of the Old Testament. I think I noticed that when you were going to John talking, you were saying you were citing, and Jesus was saying that he's been a murderer from the beginning. I'm assuming was talking about Satan.
Indeed.
But
And the
I
thing
have a
is,
problem with that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, you go ahead. You go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say, how could you? That doesn't make any sense if Jesus really said that, because God has done more atrocities than Satan has. In fact, when you look at Job, I would attribute the atrocity that Satan did to God because he allowed him to do it.
Indeed. And to make matters worse, when people interpret this as saying, okay, they think Jesus is saying that the Jewish God is the devil. But when you read these verses, you see they often leave something out in the claim. And that is, when Jesus said that, the particular part that he said, if you were of the Father, you would believe me. Remember that?
Yes.
So basically he's saying that they are not of God, but of Satan for simply not believing him. He is not saying that Satan is the Jewish God, because he would have said it differently, other than saying that if God were your Father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Also, this claim goes alongside with the idea of him being the God of this world. And the thing is, if we go to Ephesians chapter 4, verse 6, it says, one God and Father of all, who is above all, and through all, and in you all.
So it's pretty much stating there's only one God. So how can Satan be the God of this world?
Exactly. And how can Satan even rule this world and fail in his rebellion against God? There's no chance. This is actually insinuating the opposite. Or actually, let me take that a step further, because that's exactly what's going on here. It's saying that God is the ruler of the world, not Satan. But this, the passage in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 is saying that Satan is the God of this world. So we have a distraction tactic going on here, because it's trying to pin everything on Satan instead of God. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, and so pretty much what you're going to say is, in one scripture says Satan is the God of this world. In another scripture says God is what does it say again? God is something like God is a ruler of this world.
It says one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all, and in you all. That's what it's saying.
And then I want to add something to that. In Matthew, it says that all power is given to me in heaven and in earth. And then in 1 John, it says the whole world under the control of the evil one. How can Satan be in control of the evil one, who is referencing? In Matthew, it says, I'm pretty sure Jesus is speaking about God or himself. Since they're both one and the same, that they have power in earth and heaven. I see that as kind of conflicting.
Yeah. And also, Jesus is called the Lamb of God. So, symbolically, when it comes to actually not symbology, but animal-wise, Jesus is being viewed as the Lamb of God, which is particularly interesting. So Jesus' animal symbol is the lamb. It's also the fish, but still the lamb is a problem, because if he really isn't associated with the God of the Old Testament in some way, then why is it that he's called the Lamb of God? Do you see my problem? Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
So do you see my problem with Jesus being called the Lamb of God, and the lamb also being the sacrificial animal of the God of Judaism?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's something that really should be bothersome to somebody that believes that Satan is the God of the Old Testament. Also, they often say this because they don't like the idea of Jesus being the son of the Old Testament God, because of the brutality that takes place in the Old Testament. Speaking of brutality, and also especially because of the evil acts committed by the God of the Old Testament and the ridiculous commandments set up by that God character, let's take a look at what Jesus apparently says when it comes to servitude or slavery, depending on how you see it. Because, not how you see it, but how you call it, I should have said. Here we go. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 5. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in singleness of your heart as unto Christ. Colossians chapter 3, verse 22. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God. Also, depending on the concept of hell or death, because there are some people that believe in the New Testament that don't believe in hell, you have the threat of eternal damnation or death for simply not believing in God. So actually, I would argue the New Testament is actually worse than the Old Testament. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
So is there anything else you feel like talking about in the meantime?
Trying to think of what else to say.